So this dress is completely different than what we've been drawing up until now. Okay, we're only going to need a few measurements because the rest of it we're going to be drawing by eye, drawing what we see. So the top portion of the dress, you guys should be pretty comfortable with how to measure it and draw the shape. We're not talking about all the gathers and all the other stuff, but the actual outline of it. Are you pretty comfortable with that? Yeah? So I don't really have to take you through the measurement process. I do want to point out that this dress is kind of really floppy and loose. So I'm pinning the straps into place so that if you measure and come back a little bit later and want to remeasure, they haven't shifted and moved. So my goal here is for the straps to be parallel with the princess one. Okay? We're not going to draw each and every little individual bead. I'll show you next week how we can kind of render that in a shortcut sort of a way, because this would take you absolutely ages to draw every single bead on the strap. So you will be wanting to find out how far the strap goes down, so maybe you could measure from the top of the shoulder. But if I measured from the top of the shoulder, if I measured from the top of the shoulder and decided this was 6 inches, and then I pulled it up, do you see how it's suddenly taller? I don't suggest that. I'd always go from center front and go over if you can manage. Okay? But you can just sort of gauge how far away from the seam it is. So you'd probably find out where this is, and where it crosses over at the side seam. I would also probably figure out how wide this triangle is at the bottom and put from center, put half of it on one side and half of it on the other. What's this called? Yeah, this is a peplum. The peplum's like a little skirt attached at the waistline, and sometimes the peplum's on the bottom of the jacket, or sometimes in this case it's within a dress. So this is a little peplum. I would find out how long the peplum is, right? So if you know how wide the triangle is, and how long the peplum is, you already know where the peplum placement would start. It would just be, how long is it? Okay? What's this little thing? Any idea? Do you see this little inset here? What do you think that's called? Usually these little insets are triangular shapes. This one has kind of a stylized sort of house shape in the middle. This is called a godet, G-O-D-E-T. And a godet is a way to add fullness to something. So if you split a piece of fabric and insert a triangular shape in there, it'll increase the fullness. Okay, so that's one of the ways this designer is making this skirt look more flared, is by inserting some extra. This particular godet isn't totally triangular, like mostly triangular, but at the top there's some stylizing. So how would we figure out how to draw that? Right? How wide it is, how tall it is here, and how tall it is here. So we've had experience drawing a house shape before. It just happens to be this one's flaring out. It's not parallel at the sides. Now, as far as width of the godet goes, do you see how the skirt's kind of going in and out and in and out? I don't want you to pull it out to measure because we're drawing it as it's being worn. So kind of just generally measure the observational width. Make sense? All right. So, I don't have to talk to you about the top right now. We're not going to look at details or draw any details today. Today's just about like sketching out the shape. You won't have to ink this for homework this week. Next week we'll be finishing the dress, okay? But I do want everybody to kind of generalize, get the shape in. So, the newness is going to be with the skirts. What is this? Okay, so if I were to draw an ice cream cone that fell upside down, would I draw it like that? No, because you look at it and you would say that's a triangle. If I wanted to draw an upside down ice cream cone, what would I do? Okay, so if I did this, and if this ice cream cone were see-through, the bottom might look like this, right? Okay. If I'm looking at it from above and it wasn't see-through, it would look like that. If I was looking at it from below, I would see the actual pole and I would see that, okay? So this dress is covered with combs all over the place, okay? The major lesson of this is how to draw cones in different ways. So you can imagine if I got rid of the top part and drew a little tank top on here, right? The bottom of the dress is a cone shape, okay? And within that cone shape, do you see these folds of fabric? These are all tall, skinny cones, okay? That make the bottom sort of undulate a little bit. And we're actually going to be drawing parts of the sides of the cones. They're just disappearing at the top. They're sort of vanishing once they hit kind of her hip. Are you guys seeing that? Okay. In the back of this dress, and so look here, the peplum has little teeny tiny cones where the fabric is folding. And the back, check this out. What's this called? This is a fun one to draw, okay? This is called a cascade, okay? Where it looks like the fabric is sort of being a waterfall falling down the back. This is called a cascade. This is just a kind of a vertical stack of cones that happens to have a wavy line going through. So we will be playing with this, practicing this. Any idea how this is made? Yeah, parts of it are on the bias. What does bias mean?
Stretching on the diagonal.
It can be stretchy. It's when the fabric is on the diagonal. So a woven fabric is strong vertically and pretty strong horizontally. But if you turn it like this, it behaves very stretchy and drapey. So absolutely right. This actually is, you can imagine, if I could pull this apart, it's actually a circle, a fabric circle that gets stretched out. And so next week we'll talk about that a little bit more. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit more today, but I just want to let you know kind of what's going on. So we're going to be drawing a lot of cones. We're also going to play with drawing a really loose bow. I'll show you how to draw kind of a tight-looking bow and then this kind of floppy bow. Anybody know what this is? The stitching on the end? Narrow edge. N-E-R-R-O-W. If I spell something, I want you to know what it is. N-E-R-R-O-W. This is a narrow edge, so it's kind of like an overlock stitch, but it's a really, really tight one. It's made by a very similar machine. What's this for?
Finishing the edge.
Yeah, it's clean finishing the edge. It makes it so this doesn't have to be folded over and stitched. It's just tightly binding the edge with thread, so it's finishing the edge. And I think it's really cool they use this as a kind of design effect, and it's drawing the line and accentuating the line. So these are all things we're going to be doing. Get her around. So you're going to rough out the top by plotting the points. As far as the bottom, I want you to just observe how much flare is happening, okay? And then you're going to, if this is the dress form, her waist shape, okay, and the bottom of the form, the gauge, okay? If this is the dress form, I want you to observe how far it flares out. There's no real measurement here, okay? So you're going to figure out, it's going to kind of rest on her hips a little, and then at some point it's just going to kind of flare. And I think, when I see it kind of flipping out a little bit more at the bottom because of this godet, and then there's another little kind of extra little flare that's shown at the bottom. So it may flip out a little bit. What measurements could we conceivably need? So how about length, right? How far down it is. Once you've established that length from center front, okay, whatever that length is, you're going to draw the same length on this side, but you're not going to draw it as a vertical length. Think of it, if I cut this cone out, this is like a paper cone, and I cut it and opened it up, what sort of shape would I have? If I took a paper cone like you get a snow cone and I cut it down the middle and kind of open it up, what would it be? might be like a half circle or a part of a circle or something. And the idea is if I measured that cone at any given point, from the point to the edge, to the point to the edge, to the point to the edge, I would have the same size all the way around, right? And it would all converge at one spot. So the same thing has to happen here. If this skirt is, I don't know, 23 inches long, I want it to be 23 inches from here to here. I want it to be 23 from here to here. Okay? You can imagine if I had like a compass or something and I knew where the top was, I could draw a part of a circle with the compass. You guys all know what a compass is? Not like I'm lost in this compass, but like a metal one with a pencil and a point, right? If I had a compass and I fixed it at one point and I started to draw the line, it would create that curve, and that curve would be equidistant from that point all the way around, okay? Same thing is sort of happening here on the skirt. I don't want to see a straight hem where you're just measuring the same distance straight down. That's not how this is working. There's sort of an imaginary vanishing point of this cone somewhere way up there, and this thing is going to pivot. Okay, so it's going to give us a curvy line at the bottom. You don't need to really figure out where that imaginary point is. All you really need to do is, if you kind of visualize what the flare is on the side, you can just pivot your ruler out there to get the length. I would also bend the ruler a little, because you see how some extra length is taken up by the hip curve where the fabric is resting on her. So that might make the side appear to go up even more. Okay? So what we're looking for is a general sketched out smile line that we can then go in later and decorate with extra cones. Okay? So I want everybody to spend a minute, find point, 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 point. You know, you can even rough out where the triangle is, rough out where the little peplum is. You can see that it's flaring out beyond the skirt, so maybe you can kind of rough out how far away it is, okay? I don't want you to worry about any of the details or the flares right now, just the general shape, okay? Any questions? No? Okay.